What's going on, guys? It's your host, Jackie Chism, back again with another episode of the Chism Sports Groove. That's the CSG, if you didn't know. And today we got a great show for you today, episode 15. Let's get it. Man, we're definitely going to start off today with talking about Monday Night Football between the Steelers and the Browns. Could this be Big Ben's last game at Heinz Field? I don't know. They're definitely going to turn around and talk about those damn Tennessee Titans. Ooh, clinching their AFC South for the second year in a row and locking up the number one seed, leaving it in the destiny in our hands. We're going to talk about that more in Titans time. Then we're going to definitely get into the good, the bad, and the ugly from Week 17. Definitely got some NBA primetime games, and we got a few more bowl games left to talk about in Vegas, baby. So we're going to get into that. Then we got to hit hot news and not news. I got a few topics to go over. And for my final thoughts today, one, Antonio Brown. Man, crazy world. All right, guys, let's get it. Alright, guys, we're definitely going to jump right into this Monday Night Football game tonight between the Browns and the Steelers. It's at Heinz Field tonight, and the Steelers are a 2.5-point favorite at this point in the day. So we'll look more into what's going on, man. This could definitely be Big Ben's last game at Heinz Field. In the media, he had statements quoting him saying that all signs are pointing to that this could be it. I think that his play has definitely diminished enough that it's about time for him to go. The hits that they're taking, the offensive line that they need to rebuild, I don't think he has the time, nor does his body have the wear and tear to make it through a official offensive line rebuild that they would need to help out with that team. Also, you think that it's it by this time. Like, he has a long career. It's time for them to restart over because you honestly know that he is hindering the offense at this point. All right, the Steelers definitely need this game to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Browns were already eliminated with their last loss against the Packers, so they look for them to be energized to play spoiler against a division rival that they do not like. Some key matchups that we do definitely need to watch out for in this game is the Browns running game against the terrible Steelers running defense. Like, they cannot stop anybody, and the Browns have one of the best running games in the game right now. So look for that matchup to dictate this game for time of possession with yards, keeping the ball out of Baker's hands, which is actually my next matchup, which would be Baker Mayfield versus the Steelers defensive backs. 4 interceptions against the Packers is unacceptable. He's definitely had like terrible games since he started. So, I mean, you would look for a division opponent to soften up like some of the reads that he's seen like multiple times, some of the schemes he's seen. So if he can keep the ball out of like the defense's hands, like he hasn't been doing, it could be a good game for them. Next, I definitely want to talk about is the Steelers wide receivers versus the Browns defensive backs. Big Ben's looking to get the ball in his hands super quick, so Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool need to make separation at the line of scrimmage. They need to get off clean. They need to get into their breaks faster so that he can get it out of his hands faster. Without it, the team looks really bad. So that matchup could definitely dictate, the pace of the Steelers offense and how they move up and down the field during this game. definitely want to watch out for turnovers, penalties, and passing yards. Those are going to be the three indicators for me in this game of who is going to win at the end. Whichever team can move the ball up and down the field the most without penalties and turnovers is going to win this game. I still believe that there's going to be a good amount of turnovers from both teams, so it's not going to be that high of a scoring game. I do have the Steelers outpacing the 2.5 point underdog, the 2.5 points that they're getting in this game, winning 20-17 in this one. All right, guys, when I come back, we definitely want to talk about the Titans in this one. All right.
Henry breaks a tackle. Touchdown, Titans! Touchdown, Titans! He is the baddest man in the NFL!
Tighten up, guys. Yes, it's Titans time, where I definitely want to talk about the number one seed in the AFC, those damn Titans. Man, everybody did not give us our props. They looked at us terribly when we were going through our winning streak, beating some of the best teams in the league, even without Derrick Henry. Now that it looks like we have locked up the number one seed with Texans coming in next week, and Derrick Henry is back in practice running full speed, we are dangerous right now. I mean, if we don't get revenge on the Texans, then we don't deserve the number one seed to begin with. So I'm not even worried about that. We definitely want to talk about the win this weekend against the Dolphins that locked up the AFC South and gave us the number one seed. I definitely think that 34-3 win over the Dolphins in the rain and some snow and ice was just like what we needed. Like, that defense came through non-stop. It was one of the greatest defensive games I've seen us play all season. Tua couldn't do anything. He got some garbage stats. The running game was non-existent besides like 2 rushes for Duke Johnson. They wouldn't have anything else. The turnovers were there. David Long had a great interception. I'm not so sure about the ball that slipped out of Tua's hand, but we did get it. Elijah Molden, shout out for that recovery, staying on top of that. And we were always in the backfield. I think we had like 7 QB hits, 4 sacks. It just was a great defensive showing. I mean, I just want to shout out everybody in the defense. Nobody got burnt. Nobody lacked in coverage. There was no stupid penalties. I mean, it just was a great game defensively. Offensively, shout out to Deontay Foreman with the greatest game of his life. He ended up with 26 carries, 132 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, he just was a battering ram that we needed at that point in that game. The Dolphins' defense is not nothing to sneeze at. They actually lead the league in sacks and QB pressures. Our offensive line only gave up 1, still had almost 200 yards rushing. I mean, it was nice to see Saffold and Nate Davis, Taylor Lewan, all back healthy and just grinding out through it at the game. I mean, we didn't need Tannehill to do much because they were just in the second level all game when it came to running the ball. I mean, Deontay Foreman was just hitting the hole. He did everything you asked for him with 1 cut, just getting up the field, finishing runs, getting the extra yards at the end of it. I mean, you just loved everything you saw from that. Hillard had that 1 big run at the end, but I mean, other than that, he was pretty much bottled up. But he still showed what our offense is all about. Just keep going at it, keep working at it, keep grinding, and one of these days we're gonna wear them down, and we're gonna hit that big one, which we did with Hillard and with Foreman. So, I mean, the tight ends came through so much bigger in this game. Shout out to Michael Pruitt. I mean, that is a tough injury to have. It was very ugly to see. I mean, I instantly reacted because I knew what was going on. You should see when you see other team calling trainers, like you know it's a bad injury. And I mean, he's been a big part of blocking and receiving this year. So I mean, it's hard to see him go down. We love running 3 tight ends. He's a great third tight end. He fits our system real well. I wish you were there to be there for the rest of this ride, man. So it's just sad to see, but like shout out to Ferkser and Swain for stepping up as well. Both of them with 3 catches, both of them with a touchdown in this one when we needed it the most. They had some big catches in this one. Ferk definitely had some big catches in this one. You saw that they were going to bracket in double coverage A.J. Brown the whole game. So for our tight ends and our running backs to show up big in the passing game for Tannehill, and for Tannehill to just not turn the ball over and convert touchdowns when we needed, it was just an amazing game all around. Like I have no bad for anybody in the game, including our kickers were amazing in this one. Bullock had 6 kicks that he made in this one in the rain, 4 touchdowns, 4 extra points. He had 2 field goals. Kern is back and healthy. I love to seeing that. Man, he had 4 punts. 3 of them were inside the 20. So I mean, he did his thing, especially with bad conditions, including like coming back after that roughing the kicker call that he had. So I mean, you love to see it all around 3 phases, showing that we were like a real legit team, because that's not a team that's like bad. Like Mike Gesicki showed flashes in that game that he could have took over. Waddle showed flashes in that game he could have took over. Tua, if he could have ever got comfortable, especially with the ball in his hand, it would have been a different game. Man. The defense had our number with the wide receivers. I don't think Westbrook or Keener came down with anything in that game, even though he was targeted several times. So, I mean, it was a great all-around win. Shout out to everybody in the coaching staff, everybody in the training staff that's getting us back healthy, getting us right where we need to be, where we're at now. I mean, reports again showing that Derrick Henry's back at practice, running full speed with cleats. I mean, it's a great sign right now. If we can hold off the Texans next week, which I think that we definitely have some get back to get on, man, especially with A.J. Brown back and with a Julio back, if we can get him off the COVID list, and defense the way that they're playing right now. Like it should not be a game. We should definitely lock up that first round bye, get everybody healthy, ready to go for whoever we play, and let's get a Super Bowl run. I'm excited right now. It's a great time to be a Titans fan. Titans Nation, you know, let them continuously doubt us. Let them continuously come at us. We're going to go all the way this year if we can definitely stay healthy. All right, guys, when I come back, we're going to go over Vegas, baby. All right.
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
All right, guys, it's time for Vegas, baby. I'm going to jump right into some of this good and bad, the ugly. We're going to start off with the good right quick. And I definitely wanted to talk about the Bengals. Thank you. Shout out for y'all's win against the Chiefs this weekend. Like, the Titans needed that just as much as you guys needed it. Like, oh my goodness. It was a great win, a huge comeback there. I mean, they tried to give it away at the end there if it wasn't for a bailout pass interference call. I mean, take the field goal. They have no timeouts left. I know you haven't been able to really stop them all game, but I mean, you have the chance to go up without the penalties. Like, take the without the penalty, you're giving them the ball back. I would not. I wouldn't trust giving like momentum and the ball to Pat Mahomes at that point. So, but coming through at the end there, winning your division, that's a huge thing. Like, especially since 2 years ago, they were the worst team in the league. Last year, they were top 5 worst team in the league, even with Joe Burrow. I mean, it's just a huge turnaround. There's great coaching going on down there. You love to see it, especially when it helps out the dear old Titans. Next, I want to definitely talk about the Las Vegas Raiders. They had me sweating in that game. I'm flipping back and forth between the Titans in that game, and just like you can see that the momentum was shifting to the Colts, even though they didn't have much going on for them in that game. I mean, Jonathan Taylor still, I think, ended up with 100 yards rushing, but Carson Wentz definitely came out slow, sluggish. You can see what happens when you don't practice all week. I mean, they got bailed out at the end of the half there with like a Hail Mary type pass that flipped to T.Y. Hilton. It just was a crazy game. I love that the Raiders were still able to pull it out at the end there with the field goal, making sure the Titans won the division. Also, but keeping their playoff hopes alive, and I think they have a date with the Chargers on Sunday Night Football to see who's going to get into the playoffs. So even with all the turmoil, they're still right there, one game away from making the playoffs. So shout out to the Raiders; they're definitely in the good this week. Next, I definitely want to talk about one of my wild cards that I had in the last episode was the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, who could not have seen that they were, even if they were a 6-point underdog in that game, they were playing against Dallas. Kyler don't lose against Dallas. I mean, that's his hometown team. And when the lights shine the brightest, we see what Dallas does. We know what they are, and it's all coming to show when it all matters the most. I mean, they had a chance of keeping pace for a top 2 or 3 seed so that they can get home field advantage, but again, it's Dallas. All right, guys, I definitely want to talk about some of the bad this weekend, and I think I definitely want to jump right into the Ravens this weekend, losing to the Rams. I mean, they were in that game up early. I mean, even without Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley's been playing really well, and to let the Rams slide right back into it and almost mathematically kill your playoff chances definitely leads to a bad. I don't want to see Lamar Jackson in the playoffs right now myself, because Titans have seen them 2 years in a row, and a rematch is a wild card that can go either way. However the ball swings, and that type of chances you don't want to see, especially with the defense and the team that we have going right now. It sucks for the Ravens fans though that they're you're almost mathematically lost all your chances of getting in out of that loss though. Next, I want to talk about is the Atlanta Falcons. That's a weird one right there. They had a chance in that one. I mean, it was terrible conditions. The Bills are right there until the end. You actually get a safety to start the game off. I mean, and then just let Josh Allen cook in the running game go. That hasn't gone all year. I mean, it just was a bad look for them to be still mathematically in with the NFC looking as top heavy as they are. All right, last but not least, from a betting standpoint, I have to put Tampa Bay in the bad this weekend, because they were supposed to blow out the Jets this weekend. It was not supposed to be a close game, but the Jets were right there at the end, letting Tom Brady come back. It was the worst 4th down call I've ever seen. It looked like it was 4th and 2, and they quarterback sneaked it. It just was a weird play at the end. A botch is not even the word. If you played any type of football, I've never really seen a 2-yard first down on a 4th and 2. I've never seen a sneak being used in that fashion. You sneak it and then give Tom Brady the ball back with 2 minutes left. It just was a recipe for disaster. The Jets should definitely be in the bad, or should be in the ugly for that way they lost. But the fact that they were still in that game, when I think that when I called it, it was like a 13-point underdog to lose by 4. That's actually pretty decent for them. In Tampa, but I'm putting the onus on Tampa, especially with all the craziness they had going on in the middle of that game. All right, next I want to jump right into the ugly for this past weekend, and I want to start with the Vikings. I think that Aaron Rodgers took out a loan on the percentage that he owns for the Bears to buy part of the Vikings as well, because he owned them again last night. Him and Devontae Adams could do no wrong. Every route worked every time. I mean, it just was sad to see. And shout out to Sean Mannion for getting his first touchdown last night for his career. But they needed 6 more. They needed Dalvin Cook to show up, and everybody knew that Dalvin Cook had to be the one that won that game last night, and the Packers just sold out and made them throw it and win it from there. That was not going to happen last night. So that's what you tried out the game plan wise to save your season and keep your playoff hopes mathematically alive. I think that the Vikings have way more issues than we know, and we can see the writing on the wall that if they bring that team back next year, there should be some real higher ups that lose their jobs at the end of that season. All right, guys. Next, I want to definitely talk about the Dolphins again, being in the ugly. Even though if you watched earlier in the episode, I definitely talked about them losing and getting blown out and whooped royally by the Titans. They still were 8-7. They were in the playoff picture. They needed that game more than anything, and came out and got thunder beat out of. They did not show up at all. It was not close at any point in that game after the kickoff. So that can't happen when you're so close. You go on a 7-game winning streak to essentially save your season and put yourself in the best position for a playoff win. And I know that is the number 1 seed, but you have to show up better than that. All right. And then last but not least, I definitely want to talk about the Broncos. The only reason why they're in the ugly is you're the division opponent. You still started the season the way you started. You end the season now losing all mathematical chances of making the playoffs in week 17 still, and you have some of the biggest questions across your entire board right now. Free agency, draft. I mean, compensatory picks. I mean, they need as much help as possible right now. There's few trade pieces. I mean, there's so much youth and talent sprinkled in that you can just see how they could get lost in the transition between this team. It's not looking good right now for the Broncos. I ain't trust them all year. They've been in the ugly for a while. It's not a real surprise to see them here again. All right, next we're going to go straight into some NBA primetime games. I got a few games for Monday night tonight. I definitely want to start off with the Grizz traveling to Brooklyn to play the Nets. I know that Kyrie ain't going to be able to play in that one, so I look for Ja and his crew to try to give as much hell to that Brooklyn team as possible. I just think that KD is going to be too much coming back. They don't really have a defense. Nobody has a defensive matchup for him. So it's just it's at his mercy at this point. All right. Also on Monday night, We got the Heat traveling to Golden State to play the Warriors. Heat just been hit with that COVID just too hard right now. It's just hard to pick them against some of the top echelon teams in the West. Now, I still would take them in games against top teams in the East, the Nets, the 76ers, the Bulls. But, I mean, I just think that once they travel West, it's just like they have everybody out there is just too much of a difference for them to make up. All right, on Tuesday night, we got the Pacers going to New York to play the Knicks. I'm not trusting the Pacers right now. I think that they should definitely get something for the immense amount of talent that they have. I know that they're still going through some COVID protocols as well with their team, but I don't think the Knicks are going to let down against a lower level team like the Pacers in Madison Square Garden just because this is one of the games that they're supposed to win. I think that they can play enough defense to get through. All right, next we got the Kings going to LA to the Crypto.com arena now to play the Lakers. And I definitely think that the Lakers are going to win that one. I think that getting Reza back, getting Austin Reeves healthy and off the COVID list is good. I think that LeBron is still playing out of his mind, and the Sacramento Kings are just won't have enough answers at going down the stretch to win that one. I think it's gonna be close, but I'm going with the Lakers at the end. All right, next on Wednesday night we got Golden State traveling to Dallas to play the Mavs. Even with Luka back now, he's playing really well in that last game, his first game back since his long laid off. But I just think that the Mavs are too inconsistent of a team to keep up with the Warriors right now. I know the Warriors are not going to win every game, but the more closer we get to Klay Thompson returning, it's going to be scarier though. They might. All right. Then the second game for Wednesday is going to be the Jazz traveling to Denver to play the Nuggets. I'm going with the Jazz only because this is a regular season game. They're a regular season team. I don't trust them outside of that. The Nuggets have been up and down this season as well. I'm looking for the Jamal Murray return. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but I'm excited for it to happen. But until then, I just think that they're going to continuously be a 500 team right about now. All right, on Thursday, we got the Celtics traveling to Madison Square Garden to play the Knicks. I actually want to go with the Celtics in that one. I just think that they're that much better than the Pacers. So defensively, I think that Marcus Smart's going to be there to keep that game close. I think Brandon Williams is a good defensive player in the middle. That's all that the Celtics really kind of need to do right now is against like a Knicks team is play good defense, because I think that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are going to score no matter what you say. So I'm looking for the Celtics to win that one. All right, in the second game on Thursday, we got the Clippers traveling to Phoenix to play the Suns. Still no PG-13, still no chance against the Suns. Simple as that. All right, guys, we're going to go right into these bowl games. We got 2 more remaining in our bowl games. I'm sad to see it go already. Where does the time go, man? On Tuesday, we got LSU playing against Kansas State. I'm not betting against any SEC teams against non-SEC teams. Like I don't see how LSU is going to not run up and down Kansas State's throat. Kansas State's a definite heavy run team, and I just think that LSU just has too many big boys up front, offensive and defensively, to do what they want to do. To Kansas State to do what they want to do. So LSU is going to run away with that one, I feel like. All right, in the second game we got next Monday, we got the national championship game with number 1 Alabama going up against Georgia again. There's no way. There's no way Alabama's not going to win another national championship. I mean, I hope it's a game. I'm hoping that Georgia can keep up offensively with Alabama. That's just hopeful wishing, though, at this point. So I'm just going to sit there and leave it at that. Alabama gets another championship. I'm calling now. Boo. All right, guys. When I come back, we're going to go over hot news and not news. So stay tuned.
What?
All right, guys, it's time for hot news and not news. This is the segment where we go over the latest topics in the world of sports, and if it's hot news, we talk about it a little bit more. If it's not news, we leave it where it stands. All right, guys, I definitely want to jump right into it with my first topic of the day was Klay Thompson was seen in the last game hitting 24 straight threes in shoot-around. Do I think that this is news? No. Klay Thompson does that with 2 broken ankles. I mean, it's just Klay Thompson, to be honest with you. Does that mean that he's playing more? It does not. So, I mean, if he's not closer to playing, if it's not meaning that he's getting ready to play, then I don't think that is news, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, to see Klay Thompson hitting 53s in a row is, like, it's ridiculous. But it's Klay Thompson, though. So. All right, guys, the next topic I definitely want to go right into was the one LA Lakers trading Rajon Rondo to the Cavaliers for Denzel Valentine. I think that the Lakers are going to end up declining his contract, partial guaranteed contract, so that they can create a space for Stanley Johnson. Do I think that this is definitely news? Yes. Yes, it is. Stanley Johnson's been playing really well from off his 10-day contract. He's younger. He's got fresher legs. He's actually been shooting pretty well. So I mean, to add a young, fresh leg 3D guy to that team is exactly what they needed, because they're just old, man. They're like everybody. If you swing the ball 3 times against the Lakers, you're gonna have a wide open shot. The rotations are just not there for those legs. You can't ask those guys that are 30 plus to continuously keep chasing the ball and rotating in an 82 game season. It's just ridiculous at this point. So I mean, I hope that this move helps with the longevity of the Lakers, help them get to be more relevant down the stretch, because Rondo is a playoff guy. I can see him actually helping out with the Cavaliers. They've had some real misfortunes with point guards, with Colin Sexton getting a meniscus torn. He had to get that repaired, so he's gonna be out for the season. I think Rubio just tore an ACL or a ligament in his knee, and he's gonna be out for the rest of the season. Darius Garland's in and out of the lineup right now as well. So I mean, they're just having some real point guard troubles and woes going through this season, and I feel like a Rondo would help them out a lot. So they're actually a really good team right now. So Rondo learning that offense, learning their team is going to help them immensely. Filling in where Rubio was going, he's not going to score like Rubio, but I mean the defense is still going to be, just as good as Rubio, because Rubio's defense ain't that good. So. All right. definitely want to jump right into my next topic for the day. Kyrie Irving is preparing for a game this Wednesday against the Indiana Pacers. It might be his first game this season. Knowing that the protocol in Indiana is more lax for non-vax players than it is for Brooklyn, he would actually be eligible to play. Do I think that this is news? Yes. Actually, I do think that this is some hot news right now, only because of how good they've been playing without him. And even if you can get him in, work him back to a place where he can contribute as another ball dominant scorer, another playmaker with the ball in his hands for everybody else as well, like that only helps out KD, relieving him some. I know James Harden leads the league, second in the league, in turnovers. So getting the ball out of his hands a few more possessions might actually be a good thing as well for his efficiency. I know that the Bulls are surging right now, so like having Kyrie is going to be huge for the East right now, especially with their placement within there. Having a lot of home field like playoff games, especially with the way it's going, does not sound like a good thing for the Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie. But as long as they can position themselves the best, everybody's using 10-day players. Everybody's using old NBA like mainstays that bringing back that they can use to keep their position within like this COVID riddled season. So I mean, it's expected at this point, and it is going to be big news, especially for their placement for how they see themselves. So now it's after Christmas. I talked about it earlier as well, but I definitely want to talk about it a little bit. But I definitely want to bring it up again. The Bulls are now number one in the East. Now, I think that this is definitely news, like because of who's in the East. Like Milwaukee's played really well. They've been healthy. They've been getting back healthy. Giannis is still there, like doing his thing. I mean, Brooklyn's going through some things, but they still play really well with who they've tried out there. The Cavs have been like surging this year. It's 76ers, can't forget about them. Joel Embiid's playing with happy right now, so you like what you see. And they still going to get a piece for Ben Simmons at some point in time, I feel like. And so watch out for the 76ers. So the Bulls, though, is definitely a story because of how DeRozan and Levine are matching together. Like they're probably the best 1-2 punch in the league right now. Like you would think that it would be a James Harden and KD or Middleton and Giannis, but like those two are ridiculous. Like they play great defense. They can get to their shots at any levels, at the hole, at mid-range, three. Like they're very efficient. I mean, like they're playing off of each other. Like it just, the way it looks makes it so easy, like for them two to play each other. And when you have two guys that can get their own shots and play good defense, play on the court together, and play in rotation with each other, like the endless of possibilities when it comes time for the playoffs is going to be like ridiculous and scary. They're figuring some things out right now about themselves that the NBA does not want them to figure out right now. Now imagine when they get like a better ball handler like Lonzo Ball or Caruso back healthy and in the lineup. It's not going to be easy for anybody to beat them on any given night. And them figuring it out is hot news right now. I think that this does show that they're going to have like some extreme success coming up this season if they can continuously stay healthy. I know they've already been hit hard by the COVID, so getting past that at early in the season is going to help as well. All right, guys, that is definitely it for hot news, not news. When we come back, I'm going to go over my final thoughts. So we're going to talk about one Antonio Brown. All right, guys, we'll return. All right, guys, we definitely want to go right into my final thoughts for the day. And I want to talk about Antonio Brown, wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, that was a crazy thing that happened. I've never seen anything on any level like that in my life. I've never seen anybody, like, take their, like, gear completely off and, like, leave in across the field in the middle of a game, in the third quarter of a game. Like, I've heard of, like, Vontae David retiring at halftime, but you just don't come back out. But in the middle of the third quarter, like, that's just the wildest thing I've ever seen. And of course it would be Antonio Brown. So which leads me to believe that, like, what I was thinking the whole time has always been there. Like, as long as whatever's bothering him doesn't affect his football play, how he prepares, how he practices, and how he plays in games, like, they were going to always look the other way. Like, instead of getting him the help that he needed. It just didn't seem that he was getting the help he needed when the fool showed up with a fake vaccination card. Like, that's a federal penalty, man. That's a federal offense that you just committed. Just get the vaccine or don't get the vaccine. You're playing in Florida, so it don't really matter too much. It just was wild to see, that, like, he broke down like that and right there in the middle of the game. It just makes you want to think of what could have happened that brought you to that point. I mean, I can't think of anything that physically would make me want to just be like, all right, cool, I'm done with this whole right now. I'm getting out of here. Who cares? I mean, maybe like a coach, like, saying something like, you a slave for me, you do what I tell you to do, some type like that. I mean, I'd make a statement at that point to, like, leave, like, if nobody did anything about it, or probably just fight them or something like that. Like, that's me though, but I can't see, like, just leaving at that point. But from a source that I've heard said that he had 8 yards away from getting a $300,000 bonus, and he was not getting the ball like he thought he was going to, and they were purposely not throwing it to him and not going to throw it to him at that point. But I just don't. I can't see that one. Like, you're making a comeback at that point. It's a tough game. You're actually down in that game at that point in the third quarter to the Jets. You would think that you and Mike Evans being the top two wide receiving targets in that game, that you're going to get multiple looks at coming your way. I mean, especially since you know that you're going to get open. Even in your mind, you're getting open. So you really don't think Tom Brady's not trying to win that game? I mean, you could just see that there was something way wronger than football, and maybe I think that this may be the best thing for him is, like, to step away, because sometimes you do things involuntarily that, like, seem the craziest, but it's always from some healthy point inside of you that's, like, trying to help you out the most. So for him to, like, just step away from football, it probably was the best thing at that point, and he probably couldn't take another hit. I mean, I still blame Vontae Burfict, because apparently, even when he was in college, when he first got drafted, in the 4th round by the Steelers, he was a young, hungry guy who, was very mannerable, never had any issues, any problems, was a great person to be around, and even after that, you can still say that there's still teammates of his that are just will always say, I will never say anything bad, like Levante Bell. He definitely came out and said, that's my friend. I won't say anything bad about him. So, I mean, he's a loved guy. So, I mean, if he's truly loved like that as well, I mean, you would think that, like, getting him away from the blood-sucking leeches of the NFL, that don't care about what really hurts you or hinders you long term, as long as you can get on the field and produce for them, that's probably the best thing for him at that point. So I mean, I'm gonna take it and leave it. Like I mean, Tampa Bay probably hates that happened because again, they were again a couple days ago they were just making videos of was Gronk and AB enough for Tom Brady to get over the hump. Now you definitely got AB. So I mean, I don't want to see Tampa Bay winning again. But I also want to see AB getting help though. So it's a perfect time for him to get some people reaching out and have people help him. Because I mean that's just the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like never seen that. Like I can't even wrap my head around the rationale behind it. You know. So I hope that this is a wake up call for his circle, the people around him that say they really care about him, to like make sure that like, hey, y'all not getting nothing from this dude. Like if he was paying bills, if he was helping you out family wise, like he's not gonna have much. He's not had much income the last few years, and he's not gonna have that much income coming in for a good while going forward. So. It's definitely going to hurt a lot of people that work for him and his brands that work for him, like personally that work for his family. So you would think that that definitely would be something that they do, helping him like get to a point where he can be that Antonio Brown again, that everybody loves and was so successful and productive. Alright guys, that's another episode of the Chism Sports Groove. I'm your host, Jackie Chism. If you made it this point into the video, I definitely want you to take a time to pat yourself on your back, then go like and subscribe to this channel and for this video. I also want to take time to give a shout out to everybody in the Chism channel organization that had a hand putting this together. I couldn't do it without you guys. Hey, till the next time we meet, peace.